What's up, guys? Today we're checking out Stahlwerk's WT242P AC DC TIG welder. I'm pretty excited about this unit. Let's check it out. So here it is, folks. This is the Stahlwerk 200 amp AC/DC TIG. From what I can tell, this is a German manufacturer. They've got their hands in a whole bunch of stuff. Anything from air compressors to apparel, protective gear, plasma cutters, welders, and I'm probably forgetting something, but they cover a pretty broad range of products, and depending on how you look at it, that can be good or bad.
Stahlwerk Schweißgerät.
That would imply that they're not focused on just one specialty. But just looking at this unit, first impressions, I like the build quality of this thing. Just from the handle to the way that they molded the body on here, the enclosure. I like the end caps they put on here. There are a couple of things that I don't really care for, but very few. I'll tell you straight off the bat, I sat down with this manual for about a half hour or so, just browsing through it, and one of the first things I noticed was missing reference. Let's see, where was that at? I had to write it in there. So they had the numbers incorrect. They got, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then forget what this one said, but I had to cross it out. I think it says 11, and I had to cross it out and then figure out which one of these on here was number 13, and lo and behold, that was your wave balance. So yeah, aside from that, the manual does a pretty decent job of explaining the duty cycles. I assume that's in German. There's a few things, not a lot, a couple of things here and there that are in German, but all of the instructions and information is all in English, and pretty decent. It does a good job of explaining the pulse function and the pulse cycles. So if you're new to the pulse feature, that's always good to have as much information as you can get. Let's see here, what else? I like this here because it goes through a progression here of all of the parameters that you're going to select in the sequence that you typically will select them. And for each one of these, it gives you an explanation, what it does, or what the name of the function is, and what it does as far as affecting the operation of the machine. So here we got talking about wave balance here, cleaning versus penetration, and oh, actually this top one here, they're talking about frequency, and then down here they're talking about AC balance, and which both can affect your bead, and the frequency, of course, can affect your profile of your welds. But yeah, I think it does pretty good. You know, I mean, it's even in color, so I think that's pretty cool. Aside from that one little thing there, that one misprint, Stahlwerk did a pretty bang up job on this manual, so good job there. Believe me, I've come across my fair share of manuals that you feel like you just want to throw them away. You're better off just figuring out the machine on your own. All right, so that's the manual. I guess the next thing to do is power this unit on and go through the control panel. All right. So straight off the bat, we're just gonna assume that we're doing AC. So we got the unit set for AC. And let me move over to this other side real quick. And so we are going to turn on the pulse function right there. And then we are going to select our pre-flow. We'll just set it for 1 second. We're going to set our amperage for our upslope. So that's going to be your starting amperage, and then it's going to ramp up to whatever you set your peak at. And so we'll start with 80. We'll do 3 seconds to go from 80 amps to your peak, and we'll set peak to 150. And the bottom amperage, so that's going to be on your pulse setting. Your peak's going to be when it changes to the high amperage, and then your bottom end is going to be when it drops back down. So when it drops back down, that'll be it to 50. That's your bottom end. And then this right here is the this is in percentage, as you see here. So this is the percentage of the time that your pulse will spend at peak amperage. Okay, so if you're happy with your peak and your bottom end, and you just want to tweak it a little bit here, and you're like, you know what, it's a little bit hot, it doesn't need to wet out that much, or if it's looking a little bit cold, this is one way that you can make a fine adjustment and say, you know what, let's be at peak 50% of the time, okay? Or you want to drop it off and be like, yeah, let's back off a little bit. Let's only do 35% of the pulse will be spent at peak amperage. So that's what that's for. We'll just for the heck of it, for this setup, we'll do 50%. So when your pulse is happening, 50% will be spent at peak, 50% will be spent at the bottom end. This right here is your, as you see, it says hertz. That is how many times per second. This is your frequency for your pulsing. So this is how many pulses per second. This unit goes down to 1, and it goes up to, let's see, I don't know, let's 200 pulses per second. I don't know if I'd ever use that, but let's just, for simplicity, 1 pulse per second. And now we're going to finish up with your downslope. How long do you want your downslope to last? Let's say you wanted a 3 second. We'll just do the same as the upslope, 3 seconds. And you want it to gradually drop down to end at 50 amps. And there's your post flow, 3 seconds of post flow. Let's do 2 seconds post flow. And we've got all of this section here is all taken care of. Okay, that's all of your setup or from the time you push the pedal to the time that you let off. And now we're going to look at this next one here is your AC balance. Cleaning versus penetration. Let's just set that to 25. Now this is your frequency. You see the Hertz light illuminated. This is your frequency of your waveform. That's for your arc. That's your arc frequency. 120 Hertz is fine. And seconds up, we're back to post flow or pre-flow. We're back to pre-flow. So everything's set up now. Pretty straightforward. You set up your pre-flow, upslope amperage, peak, bottom end, your percentage of time spent between peak and bottom end, and your pulses per second. Then it drops over to your downslope, amperage, and then your post flow, and then it jumps over to your AC balance, to your frequency, and now you're all done. Now your unit's set up for pulse. Pretty straightforward. If you know what each function does, and that's when you got to get into the manual, get a really good understanding of each parameter, and pay attention to them, because it can get confusing when you start to mix up different frequencies or percentages. So make sure you thoroughly understand that before you set up your unit. All right, guys, let's go over the inventory here. We've got your manual with your consumables. For the torch, you have a WP26 flex head. Feels pretty decent. It's a little, it bends pretty decent, but it's always nice to have a flex head, in my opinion. I do like using them. I think they make life a lot easier. So I do like that. These come with a different connector than a lot of the dense connectors. So keep that in mind when you're looking at different options for upgrading your torch. Comes with a 5-pin for the control. So you do get a stinger with this for your stick welding. One thing to note is the connections on this thing are tiny. They're like mini dense connectors. So I'm kind of curious to see what kind of temperatures we get on the conductors. So keep that in mind. One thing straight off the bat that you need to consider is, see this orange piece of hose here? This is what came in, that came with the unit. And it's this size hose that connects in the back. I'll show you the back side of this unit. It's just a quick push-in type connection, but as soon as I saw that, I was, immediately I was like, all right, that's going to have to get changed over before I can even think about using this thing. So I had to find one of my hoses sitting around, and with the 5/8, I think that's a 5/8 connector, and then get a what do you call it, coupler. Anyhow, I had to make this thing adapt it so I could use it with the regular regulator. So keep that in mind. You will encounter a bag with this hose in it, so don't be alarmed when you do. The ground clamps about what you would expect from a budget welder, and then again, like I was saying, these tips are tiny. I let's see what happens with that, because yeah, I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any machines with connections that small on the primary conductors. All right, so this unit by default runs off of 120 volts, and it does come with the pigtail if you're going to run it on 240. Okay, I think that covers all the preliminary stuff. Let's grab some pieces of aluminum and start welding. Okay, so one thing I noticed straight off the bat was you do have to be right up on the workpiece to get your arc started. But once you get the arc initiated, it goes pretty smooth, and the machine just kind of hums along pretty consistent. So with this weld, I was pretty satisfied with the way this one turned out, and decided that I was going to try the machine on different settings. And I did have a foot pedal sitting around that had a 5-pin connector, and went ahead and I did try that out on the machine and tried it out under different modes, pulse on and pulse off. So a lot of different settings, and really trying to test out the unit. So here you can see that the arc is very erratic when I was using the foot pedal, and I'm going to assume that that's because this foot pedal is not it's not designed for this particular unit, and each foot pedals have different ratings, and they use different components. There's different. Some have 1 potentiometer, some have 2. The combination, you might have a 2K ohm pot working together with a 10K. You might just have 1 10K pot in there. It's all very specific to the machine, so if any of those combinations are off, you could experience an erratic operation. I want to show how the not having a foot pedal can be challenging with these machines, especially if you have a smaller workpiece and that workpiece is getting saturated with heat. There's a saturation point where the workpiece is so hot that you've got 2 options. Go back to your machine's control panel and back off your settings for your amperage and your pulse settings, or do it the right way and have a foot pedal that you can ease off of as you see the weld pool wetting out too much. And that's exactly what happened on this last bead here. Just way too much heat, and not being able to back off of it either with a foot pedal or a thumb wheel. That's going to be your challenge if you go to use this machine straight out the box. You're going to have to let your workpiece cool down and then resume welding. And look at that ghost image down there, that smaller one. That's it's reflecting off one of the lenses, and it's kind of a trip. If I can replicate that same image with the pull, I'd like to make that the main image here. But kind of cool. You can see a much better image of the pool on that smaller reflection. So all in all, I put this thing through the ringer, through all the different modes except for DC. I figure most machines run really smooth on DC, so I didn't want to mess with that. But as far as AC, you know, this machine has it has capability. I can see it, but without a dedicated foot pedal, one that is specific to this unit's requirements, I don't think you can get the full capability out of this unit. Alright guys, I'm gonna speed up the last few clips here. I just wanted to point out there's at least one structural weld in here. I did a butt joint on both sides of the plate, and I just wanted to point those out, point out the end results of all the welds here, and then do a brief conclusion of this welder, and that should be a wrap. Alright guys, there you have it, the Stahlwerk WT242P. I really enjoyed doing this review. I had a lot of high hopes for this unit. For the most part, it didn't disappoint, but there were two flaws that I think are really important. That's the foot pedal, and the other one is the gas line. I believe that Stahlwerk needs to make a foot pedal that works well with this unit. For this review, I was able to resort to another pedal that I had on hand, but this pedal is not specific to this unit. There's certain things that can affect the performance, which is the type of potentiometer as far as the rating, the ohms rating. If that's off a little bit, it's going to affect how well the pedal functions with the machine. So Stahlwerk, please make a foot pedal, and if there is one out there already in existence, please drop a comment in the comment section. I'd love to find that pedal and hook it up to this machine and give it another go around. As for the gas connection, Stahlwerk should have included some kind of adapter for your standard gas regulator. That's a minor thing, but if it's minor, it should have been considered and included with the purchase. But aside from that, overall, I was pretty happy with the unit. I was happy with the pulse function. The consistency of the arc was good. You did have to get up on the workpiece really close, just like basically like a standard machine. Most machines these days are high frequency start. I was expecting a little bit better start on this for initiating the arc. It did well. It could have been improved a little bit, but I think overall Stahlwerk did a decent job. The only negatives were those two that I mentioned, the pedal and the gas hose, and I think that's about it I've got for this machine. As always, thanks for watching. Take care.